What's up, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tati if you're new here, and if you're coming back, then welcome back. So today will be the start of the Will You Be My Brunch series. For that brunch, I ended up doing a lot of different DIYs and a lot of different things to personalize the brunch to make the girls feel like they were loved and like to make it feel like I actually put effort into it when asking them to be my bridesmaids. I had never seen it done before, so I was like, why not? You know, I have the house, I have the things, I'm more than capable of, you know, making it cute. So, and also knowing the two girls that I have as my maid of honors, I was like, yeah, this is probably the only thing I'm gonna really have creative control over besides my wedding, which is a whole nother story. But the girls are really gonna take over for the bridal shower, for the bachelorette trip, as they should. But yeah, they're really gonna take over for that part. So I really just wanted to go all out for this, and I did. So today will be the start of that series. If you haven't seen it, go check my socials. I've already uploaded pictures of all of my girls. They said yes, how the day went, like just to see it before you start actually watching the videos to see how I got to the end point. But yes, definitely go check my socials. Tatiana Chambriel _ on Instagram, Tatiana Chambriel on Facebook. Everything's Tatiana Chambriel. If you want to find me on TikTok, Tatiana Chambriel. But I don't post much on TikTok. My goal is to post a lot of the DIYs that I made for the wedding on TikTok, but I haven't gotten there yet. So yeah, go follow me on all socials in order to see how the brunch ended up being. But long story short, the girls loved it. They appreciated it. And my goal here is just to show y'all how to achieve that without spending a lot of money and needing someone else to do it for you, because a lot of the stuff that was done, I did it or me and my fiance did it. So episode 1 is going to be all about the backdrops that we made. I saw a video on TikTok, I'll link it right here, or the user here, and you can go find it there. But I used her video to guide me through the whole entire process, and it was very helpful considering that, you know, we don't know what we're doing. So yeah, I would recommend, if you don't like how I'm describing how I did it, go check out her video because she puts a lot of detail in it as well. Okay, so the list of materials you'll need for this is a jigsaw, maybe, or a skill saw. You can probably use it for both. Me and my mom went to Lowe's and we got 3 4x8 sheets of plywood, and then we got hinges. So we already had the hinges. We just used the hinges from our kitchen cabinets because we had just replaced them. Not just replaced them, but I had a lot of extra. So I was like, I'm not spending money on that. I'm just gonna use the one from the kitchen cabinet. So we already had hinges for that. There's probably the L-shaped hinges would probably work better from Lowe's in this situation, like for them to close properly. But if you have extra hinges around your house, I'm sure it'll work fine too. So that is the list of materials that you need to kind of get the project completed. So the first thing we did in this video was figure out whether we wanted 2 5-foots and 1 6-foot, 2 6-foots, 1 7-foot, 7-foot, 8-foot. You know, we figured out what we needed, like what measurements we needed, and we ended up going with 2 6-foots and a 7-foot tall arch. So then we used a tape measure to measure out 6 feet of the board, so we know where the 6-foot mark was on the center. And then from there we went down 2 feet and we used that 4-foot mark to anchor the tape measure on to be able to create the perfect arch, as you can see in the video right there. Once we got the arch shape, we ended up drawing a vertical line from the tip top of the arch where the center is and cutting off the excess pieces of wood, like straight down that line, just so we can use those pieces as legs in the future. We could have cut it off as one whole piece, but while we had it up, we already had the center measured. We just literally drew the line straight down the center and cut them off, because further along in the video, you'll see how we use those 2 pieces as legs. Once we cut the excess off, I began sanding. I probably could have sanded a lot better. I did smooth out some of the roughness, which was my overall goal, but I probably could have did it a lot better, because once I started painting later on in the video, I'm like, man, there's little crevices and stuff in here that I probably didn't want, but it's okay because it still all turned out beautifully. So I'm just sanding away right now, and then I'll get into the part where we start working on the legs. Once we finished sanding, we ended up flipping the board over and we started to create the legs of the backdrop. With the legs of the backdrop, we decided that triangles would work. I'm pretty sure that's what the video showed too, but she just used the excess pieces of wood to create like the triangles to make the legs. The original line that we thought was straight was not really straight, so to be on the safe side, we used the factory edges of the plywood because we knew it would give us a 90-degree angle. And then from there, we just used the square to create the straight line across to give us the perfect triangle. Once we got the triangle, we ended up cutting off like 2 inches of the tip of the triangle, just so whenever we folded the legs in, they laid flush together and they didn't overlap each other, allowed the legs to close in, and it was easy. It made it easier to store, and it didn't really affect the balancing of the board once we were completed anyways. So once we got the legs how we wanted them, we ended up measuring in from the edge of the board and an inch and a half, I believe. I can't really remember, but I believe it's an inch and a half. And then making a straight line just so like we did it on both sides of the board so it would be symmetrical and that both of the legs would be in the same spots. So then once we figured out that and made the line, we ended up using the hinges to screw the legs into the board. And once we were done putting the hinges on there, we stood the board up and voila, it stood up by itself. I feel like on non-smooth surfaces, it was a little iffy, like it was like rocky, but when you put it on smooth surfaces, it still stood up. Either way, the board stood up. It just relied on one leg more than the other. We did the same thing 2 times for the 6-foot board. And then we started to work on a 7-foot board. We did basically the same thing for that, but instead of marking it at the 6-foot mark, and then the 4-foot mark, we did the 7-foot mark and the 5-foot mark, but did the same exact thing. So we found the center of the board, then we measured up 7 feet, then we measured down to 5 foot. We hooked a tape measure on the screw that we screwed in at the 5-foot mark and pulled it out 2 feet and used that to create the arch on the 7-foot. And the same thing before we ended up cutting off the excess, we ended up drawing a vertical line down the center to create the legs. Except for this one, we ended up making the triangles before we took it off. So like we didn't just cut off the excess and then make the triangles. We made the triangles before we took it off, and then we cut off the excess pieces and had the extra little piece for the center. So once we cut off the excess wood, we began to sand again. Once we completed sanding, we then began to put the legs on once again. But with these legs, because it's 7 foot and I kind of wanted to do like the 6 on the outside and the 7 in the middle, we pushed the legs in a lot further. Those measurements can be based on your preference. You don't have to put the legs exactly where we put them, but I think with this one, we put it like 3 inches in, maybe 3 inches in. I don't know, y'all. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I don't know how far we put this one in, but we put it in enough to where when I set up the boards, the legs still supported the 7-foot boards without them having to lean on the 6-foot boards, even though they did have to still lean on the 6-foot boards a little bit whenever stood up because I didn't put the legs in for as far as I wanted to. I don't really remember the measurements for that part, but it's really based on your preference anyways and how you're gonna set the arches up. And voila, all of the arches are done. Like I said, we did the 2 6-foot and a 7-foot, and it turned out great. As you'll see in the video, I really wanted them in a lot closer. So like I said, I didn't account for one board leading on the other, or the 6-foot and the 7-foot. You know, like I didn't do good with that, but they still stood sturdy even if one leg wasn't being used at a time. So the next day I began painting, and the painting is pretty self-explanatory. We did all the sanding the night before, and then I just took black paint and this paint that said cloud. So I thought it was white, but it's actually like a cream color. I didn't know clouds were cream. But I took those 2 paints and painted all 3 of the backdrops. This was honestly the most tedious part. And even though I got it done within one evening, it was still tiring. If you look closely in the video, you'll see I'm using a cookie sheet to paint with. I was just lazy and I didn't think we had any more of the paint pan things, the paint trays. Turns out we had like 5 of them, but I didn't look. I just literally went into the kitchen and poured the paint in the cookie sheet, and yeah. But they were only $1, so I'll get another one. Eric came out, he's like, "Why are you gonna have the people thinking we using cookie sheets to paint?" And I was like, I didn't think we had any, but I didn't look. I didn't even look in a spot where it normally is, and we had like 5 of them, so I was embarrassed. But yeah, it worked. It worked. Judgment-free zone, it worked. Finished painting, and then the backdrops were complete, at least for now. I didn't add any of the decals on there, the to have in the weather holds or the will you be my, until the day before the brunch, so that'll come further down and later on in the episodes. But as of now, episode 1 is complete, and I hope this helps someone learn how to make the backdrops for themselves. Side note is, you don't always have to paint them. You could leave them the wood color and then just get little slips to put over them. But I decided to paint them because the only reason I will really be using them is either for my wedding, my bridal shower, or all wedding things. And my wedding is gonna be white and black anyway, so it didn't matter to me to have them painted. And that's probably the color I'm gonna have them painted for a while, so it was fine to me to paint. But if you want to get slips so you don't have to paint it every time, that'll probably help you and benefit you in the future. Hope this video helps someone. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Leave me comments. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys are prepared for episode 2, which I will show you guys how I sent the invitations out for the brunch. Thanks for watching.